viewers and listeners at home, you're welcome to yet another episode on our series, the Backend Series. Today we have on set with us Babatunde Hakeem Lawal, also called BHL. So Babatunde, kindly introduce yourself to our people.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the opportunity. So my name is Babatunde Hakeem Lawal, also known as BHL. I'm a trained agricultural economist and extension service provider. I'm also an entrepreneur, and I do a lot of other things.
Yeah. Let's hope the session will unveil those other things. Okay. Please share with us some insight as to your journey into entrepreneurship. How has it been? Why entrepreneurship? Why not seek a job like every other person will want to do?
Yeah, thank you. So, firstly, I'm not against looking for getting a job. Everyone has his own areas of impact and or purpose-driven life kind of thing, right? But then I think everything started based on my own upbringing. I was raised by a single mother who happened to be a businesswoman, and anytime she goes to buy things, she was trading. She used to trade in all these ready-made clothing for children and all, right? So anytime she goes to Lagos, then we're living in Ibadan to buy clothes and brings them down to Ibadan. She always tell me the prices she bought those clothes for, and then the price she should sell them. So I would say, the margins are kind of much. Oh, why are you going to do this? And that is business. And so I started learning that, okay, business is all about profit making, right?
Yeah.
Responsible profit making, anyways.
Yeah.
So, and then I followed out the market most times because I happen to be the first and only son.
Wow.
So I will follow out the market, and I will see how she negotiates and all that, how she sold the product, and customers will always come back again to buy and all. I was like, oh, okay. So I started learning some of the basic business principles like customer satisfaction, negotiation, cost price, the margin, some of those basic business mathematics. So she exposed me to all of that, and I grew in that way. A lot of times I've tried to see if I could fit into the 9 to 5 job or the schedule and all. I really love to be corporate, right? But then it's not just my thing. I think it's based on upbringing and based on my exposure into the business world generally. From like I started my first business at the age of 9. Yeah, so they're selling female scarf, right? My mom with savings got in, and I had to give my mom the money, and she bought me the female scarf, just encouraged me, and I sold it to her friends. Because those were like ready to go to market strategy, ready customers. And then I even started lending at when I was in SS2. I would save money, my own pocket money, save it and lend it to my friends to go and play games. Then when they get their pocket money, they pay me back with interest.
So sometimes they get to borrow money, to play games, and possibly lose the money.
Of course.
But the strategy for payback was when they get back.
So I had this part my godfather, so they don't mess with me. So all those things have been there. And even when I got into university, I was still involved in business. I was importing stuff, good female stuff, because I know that they buy a lot of stuff. I couldn't sell to guys. So female stuff, I have female representatives in their hostels.
Wow.
So it's been a journey.
Awesome. It means I picked up something here. It means we can actually learn business principles even from an illiterate. I'm not sure your mom was a literate business person who attended the business schools of our time and all that.
No. My mom happened to be someone who had gone to school, right? Okay. But then not like someone who went to school to study business. It was more of like a secretary kind of person. But
okay.
She has that acumen, and then she is very street smart. Wow. Right? My mom is over 60. Now at the age of 58, my mom learned about how to produce about 14 home care products.
Wow.
All the home products, all the home care products are used in the house right now. They're produced by my mom. Awesome. And she sells them. She has representatives in different local markets.
Wow.
At the age of 65.
That's awesome. Okay. In your years of running businesses, what will you say is that one major challenge that an average business person faces rather.
So the common one that everybody always talk about is funding, right? But I've come to realize that lack of funding is actually a symptom, not actually a cause.
Okay.
Right? I've been in a position whereby I cried for funding, like I really wanted money. And I've been in a position whereby I had a lot of more access to cash, to capital, and I'm like, okay, where is the idea? I've been on both sides of the table whereby I had access to a lot of much more than I needed.
As in, just ask for it.
Yes.
Now you are thinking, what idea do I push forth?
Exactly.
I think that goes to validate my regular quote that there are more money available in the system seeking for viable businesses to support than there are viable businesses that are prepared to access that fund.
Yes, very true. So I've been on both sides of the table, and I would say the real problem is execution.
Awesome.
Is execution, because even coming up with a viable business that can successfully take up cash and produce return is execution, right? And it's even much more important than collecting the cash or just generating or launching a business. You must be able to see the end from the beginning. So, and that boils down to execution. No matter how complex or how simple the idea is, as far as you can execute excellently well, and that is where a lot of people are having problems, because execution has to do with hiring the right people, getting the right. It's not just about having access to capital, being able to attract the adequate amount of capital per time or per phase. So all of that boils to cumulate into the big word execution.
Summary, you are saying now that the number one challenge a lot of entrepreneurs face happens to do with execution. Correct. So for you as an entrepreneur, how have you been able to navigate this issue of execution?
Okay, so when it comes to execution, it's not something you perfect in a day. In fact, the goalpost keeps changing, right? Because even the best of the best keep learning, right? And one thing about it is that you just have to be open. You have to understand that you have to be very, very focused and invest yourself on one particular course, right? And get the best people around you. People matter a lot, right, when it comes to execution. So having the best people around you who can help you drive that execution matters. So focus, having the best hands around you, and staying put. We call it staying power, tenacity. The ability to stay put on a project or on an idea till you are able to achieve the best out of it matters a lot. So those are my ways of executing. I'm far from being perfect in execution. I'm still learning. I have a long way to go. But from those that I admire a lot and the little result I've gotten in the previous years, right, and I'm still getting, I see that focus, tenacity, and having the best people around you, that is the best hands, the best talents around you matters a lot.
Awesome. Yeah, particularly doing business in Nigeria has its own challenge.
Right.
Yeah. What's your message to that entrepreneur who is currently struggling and trying to just get things together? You're battered from power situation, infrastructural deficiency, manpower inefficiency, and all of that. What's your advice?
It can actually be very crazy. I've been there.
Yeah.
And it's very traumatizing. A lot of entrepreneurs, I have to say this now, especially the wannabes or the ones that are just trying to come up, truly they are suffering from trauma and depression unknowingly, because in the process of trying to deal with these multiple problems, right, you tend to fall into a lot of issues, right, especially mental health and all that. And the best way to handle all of these things is have I would rather say an association of like minds around you, people who can share ideas with, people who can share your thoughts with. Because if you don't have them, right, you won't have someone to actually encourage you, or that's one, having the right kind of people around you. Then secondly, for me, is about staying put, especially when you are so convinced about the cause, right? There will be challenges. It's not going to come on a platter of roses, right? is there. Of course, these challenges are there to test your commitment, right? So you have to be able to stay. Tenacity matters a lot. Then the third thing for me is outgrow your current situation. There was a time I was speaking with someone. There was a time raising 1 million naira was a big problem in capital to me, right? And then there was a time 1 million naira was something I could easily help somebody to. I could lend or have somebody access, right? So it's more of like outgrowing your problems or outgrowing your capacity. So and that has to do with learning. Right, so 3 things. Number 1, having the right people around you. Number 2, tenacity, staying power. You have to be committed. You have to show it by staying there, even in the toughest times. And number 3 is outgrow yourself. Keep outgrowing.
Okay, particularly, I want you to talk about this issue of human capacity, competency. How do you deal with it? It's a situation where getting good hands is becoming a critical issue for us, particularly in Nigeria.
Yeah, so it's a very big problem in our country now. I don't want to generalize by saying Africa, because there is the issue of brain drain, whereby the best of us generally they're leaving the country for better opportunities, right, for greener pastures and all, and which is normal in every society. If I have a way of getting better reward for my skills, for my intellect, for my abilities, why should I stay in a place that is paying me lesser? So you have to convince me beyond doubts, right? So, but then businesses are already suffering from that. We could see the issue already. I mean, we could see the results in the banking system, and there are so many others around. So, as a business here in Nigeria, you would not be spared out of this. You will not be spared out of this, because a lot of great talents are leaving the country. So, for me, it's more of like don't take it personal. Right, there's not the enemies. This is not about one enemy hunting at you. It's a general issue, right? So you have to be very tactical about it. You have to be very strategic as well, because what I mean by that is sit down, look at your business entirely, and look at the areas you can automate. You don't really need human interference. Automate those areas quickly. Technology is versatile, global, and it has no emotion, right? So as long as you can afford it, you get it. So automate your processes as much as you can. Then in areas where you cannot automate, right, try as much as possible to get the best of hands that you can afford. And beyond just about getting the best of hands, be open. Don't use people. Right? Don't choose people. Be open to them. Let them know where your business is at every point in time, and then be open to share. Because many of them may even ask you for much more than salaries. They may ask you for some equity or for some additional bonuses here and there. If be open, let them know that okay, this is what the business can afford and all. Let me tell you, the best of the best don't really work for money. They work afterwards. They work after their hearts. So if they really love, they're actually passionate about your business. They want to make money, but then they still want to see that they are able to push through with you on that idea. So if they now see that you are capable and you are open with them, surely you may not get the best of the best, because the best of the best are already out there. But you still get people who can take your business to the next level here within the country.
All right. There is that young man, there's that young woman who's trying to decide at the moment, what do I do? Should I go into entrepreneurship? Should I go seek for a job? What's your advice for such a person?
Well, for me, I'm not in as much as I've taken my own lane of entrepreneurship and all right. If I have the opportunity today to lead a company, right, and then maybe I see that okay, I'm passionate about that path. Let's say an established company, and somebody says, hey, Babatunde or BHL, would you want to grow this company for the next 2 years and just help me scale this company? And I see that it's something I love, and I see that this is something I can do. You'll be so shocked. I will hire another MD to manage my business, and I'll go there and run the business. So it's not really about being my own boss. It's about creating an impact. It's about being in a position whereby you can make things happen. So that's my own definition of entrepreneurship. right? It's not about being your boss. It's about being in a position where you can make things happen. You can make decisions that affect millions of lives. So really, follow what you really enjoy doing. I love seeing things happen. I love being in a place of decision making. So whatever that could be, I'm open to it, right? If it's about consultancy, if it's about running another man's business, if it's about starting my own business afresh or in another, whatever it is, so long it's about being in a position of determining the destinies of so many people in a better light, I'm open to it. So that's what I would advise. Be open to yourself. Don't be selfish, right? Be open-minded and see where you can really be of great impact to people. If it's entrepreneurship or working for someone else, whatever it is, just do it.
Awesome. Yeah, I happen to find, I know this for a fact, that access to funding is something that you have dealt with satisfactorily. Yeah, you cited an example about how accessing #1 million was a big deal, but at some point, #1 million is something you can help somebody else to facilitate to get. So I understand that you are mastered that. Of course, there is no perfection anywhere. So how do you, or what's your guide, what's your suggestion to that person who has an idea and is wondering, how do I get the funding for this? What do you have to tell such a person?
If you are struggling with getting funding for your idea, trust me, your problem is not lack of funding. You have a deeper problem, right? And the deeper problem here is not being able to present yourself in a way that you can attract funding, right? So that is where the real issue is, right? Because if you are actually looking for money, that means you are either not seeing the money around you, or the people that could have given you the money don't see you to be credit worthy or investment worthy. So when you look at that, I think you have to deal with the deeper problem, which is being able to position yourself as being investment worthy, right? And that's another ball game entirely, which has to do with making sure that your idea is viable, you have the right team, the right structure, you've been able to test at the lower scale, you've been able to prove your point, you've been able to gather some traction, you've been able to see that yes, there is a need out there and people are willing to pay for it, you've been able to, it's all about proving yourself, right? And once that happens, trust me, there are lots of cash out there for different ideas. Right? Is it climate? Is it technology? Is it agriculture? Is it whatever it is?
Female-led business.
Like as grants, cheap loans, equity. There is just, in fact, equity companies are constantly looking for. I mean, that's VCs. They are constantly looking for ideas to back. Grants are always making out calls for applications. Banks are also looking for people to lend money to. There are so many. Recently, I found out that I don't want to mention the name of the bank. They are not paying me for advertisement. So I recently found out that there is this particular bank. I got in contact with their management team, and they had a product. They currently have a product that is tailored for agricultural businesses. It's a single digit rate, and nobody knows about it. You don't even need a collateral, and up to 20 million naira. A commercial bank. So you can imagine that kind of thing now. And if you don't know these things now, you think that there is no funding anywhere, right? So one of the areas, if you are lacking funding, is one of the things you are actually lacking is access to the right information and right people, because the right people will give you the right information. So network matters, network of friends, network of associates, the right information, being investable, traction. So there are a lot of things behind the scene before talking about lack of funding.
That's what I always call sweat equity. A lot of people that are lacking funding, that are unable to access funding to their business, part of their challenge is that they are not willing to put in the effort to do the work that doesn't necessarily require money. I think those are the kind of work you need to do that prepares you, that tells the world that you are ready you are investor ready, and all of that. So I think those are things that we must take into cognizance. It's not enough to say I have an idea. Like I shared on my radio program yesterday, nobody wants to fund an idea that is still in your head.
Right.
Nobody wants to fund an idea that you are struggling to understand. Just go as far, as simple as, first of all, put the idea in a concept note. Sometimes just sharing that concept note, people will call you and say, I think I'd like to be a part of this. Then take it to the next step of trying to validate it with the people whose problem you want to solve. Don't assume that they will pay for it until they really pay for it.
Right.
Because customers are actually the core validators of any idea. And once you get that customers crying for the idea, the funders will run after you, because obviously they have these funds, they are looking for where to plug it, either to get more if they are in equity, if it's loan, or to facilitate some person's progress so they can take part in that person's glory. So the truth is, there are lots more funding out there willing to support businesses than there are viable businesses seeking for those funds. Right. So Babatunde, as we come to a close in this, what will be your final word to our viewers?
Basically, it's a tough season, and it's not. I don't see it easing off very soon. But the point is, no matter what the season is, there are always opportunities. Opportunities abound.
Yeah.
And we just have to be in a position whereby we have to be purpose driven, and that's it. So if you are really called out to be an entrepreneur, or you're called out to be a problem solver, you must be able to stand your ground. And this is like a call to mission, or a mission call, right? Because you have to be able to put in a lot of effort, right? Because not because money is scarce necessarily, but because a lot of funders right now, they are even still looking at the terrain and all that. So it will take you more of like extra ability to be able to convince people to invest in you. So it will take you more ability to be able to convince talent, more extra stuff to convince talent to stay with you, whereby they could actually just go to Canada or any other country.
Yeah, or even work from home and yet earn dollars.
So it's a lot of work to convince the best of the best to work with you, to fund you, to be with you. So, and it's a test, right? So you just have to, and this is not the time to quit, because the truth is that kings are made during this period, right?
That's true.
So a lot of people are going to fall off. So the people that will remain, even if you are not really making so much progress, but just remain, and at least just stay in the game, it will make a lot of difference. So what I would say is stay, just keep stay there, tenacity, be tenacious, and then keep building your capacity. That's what I do. No matter how tough it is, it's not all the time. It's always shower. There are times whereby it will be so dry, and you just have to stay there. I could remember the story of Isaac. I wanted to leave. We also want to chapa. I told him, hey, where are you going to? Stay back, right? So sometimes you just have to stay back, stay there, build your capacity, and see how you're going to grow in multiple folds.
Awesome. Yeah. In supporting those points, I just want us to understand as entrepreneurs, sometimes all the world just want to know is that this person has been there.
Yes.
They really don't care whether you have been making profits. So sometimes you are just there basically surviving. It doesn't matter.
Even below the water level.
Yes, the truth is, when they look back 5 years down the line, 7 years down the line, this guy is still there. At that time, you begin to earn much more than the effort you are putting in.
Right.
But if you lose out at the point where you need to remain, that's where the challenge is. You're going to realize that it's like you're going to primary 6, but you got to primary 2, you pulled out, and 2-3 years after you're coming back, you have to start from the same primary 2. But you could have just endured, and at the end, it's going to be rosy. So, thank you so much, Babatunde, for sharing this time. I'm sure a lot of our viewers would like to follow you on social media handles. What's your social media?
So it's a very simple thing. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm not too active on Instagram and all of that, right? So on LinkedIn, BHL, once you just search BHL on LinkedIn, it will surely bring me up, right? And or Babatunde Hakeem Lawal, surely bring me up. And I'm open. If you need to send me a message, be free to send me that. If you want, you can send me connection request. I'm always open, but I'm very active on LinkedIn, but not much, not on other social media.
That's fine. LinkedIn is for the big boys. So let's meet on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, I'm Osayi Treskaro. I do a lot more on LinkedIn. Everything you see on LinkedIn from my page is my personal engagement. But anything you see in any other platform may just be somebody talking to you. But let's meet there. Thank you for spending this time with us. We're sure you've learned a lot. The goal of all of this is not to just share knowledge. The goal is that we want you to begin to run business professionally, then you're able to make impact positively and profitably. So let's do this again some other time. Thank you. Bye-bye.